Yep, I've most definitely just woken up 10 minutes ago.
His jokes are on the wing, but man, that guy can sing. Listen to Johnny Tennor's brain farts.
I've never followed sports in my life. For example, I wear this hat because at the moment it's trendy, and I'm just super vain. However, when I'm walking down the street, random people will come up to me and be like, "Oh, so you follow the American basketball, do you?" No, my brother-in-law came back from America and gave this to my dad, and I stole it. Oh, you're one of those people. And yes, I am one of those people. But, for some reason, last week, me, Josh, and Ash, you've met them here, boop, we all sat down and watched the Packers versus the Patriots. We were a bit like, wow, there's actually more to this game than just throwing buddies at each other. I mean, they're still throwing buddies at each other, but there's actually something interesting about it. The fact that I was interested in this, I was like, I might actually give it a shot. However, being Australian, I have no knowledge of American football teams. I need to figure out what team I'm following. So, with my vast knowledge of NFL, aka anything Josh has told me, I'm going to review all 32 of the NFL sports teams, based entirely on their logos. Look, I have to start somewhere. There's a lot of them, so here we go. Baltimore Ravens. I kind of feel like they've gone, like, here's a bird head. Let's shove a B on it just to make sure people don't know it's Baltimore. Although you can confuse the B for meaning bird. Chicago Bears. Nothing in their logo shows any bears, but they definitely are showing pride for the letter C. Basically, the Cookie Monster follows this team. Cincinnati Bengals. There's a strong theme of just putting letters on there. And why don't these people call themselves the Tigers? Detroit Lions. Well, okay, so we moved away from letters. We now have a lion. It's very blue. It's not bad, but it's not good. It also looks super British. Cleveland Browns. When your team inspires a character named after them, which inevitably turns into a show, and that character is a complete dirtball, you probably need to ask yourself some questions. Also, not very creative. Their mascot is a color, and their logo has a helmet. I mean, the freaking Bears and Bengals were more creative, and they only used a letter. Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers is actually the only game that I actually watched back when they won the Super Bowl a few years back. But from logos things, they do look like just a company selling groceries or something. Pittsburgh Steelers. Because, you know, obviously. Minnesota Vikings. Definitely has a Viking on it. Well, I know what Team Thor goes for. The Houston Texans. Houston, you called yourself Texans. Why don't you call yourself Bulls? There are other Texan teams in this game, and there are no teams called Bulls. Why have you not called yourself the Bulls? Could have been more creative. I mean, seriously, red, white, and blue. It's like, do you think this team's American? Atlanta Falcons. I don't hate it. I mean, it looks like a logo that clearly the bad guys would have, but it actually looks super slick. Indianapolis Colts. I watched one of these games last week, and when I saw their little logo in the corner, I thought it was a noose, and I'm like, are they the Indianapolis Hangmen, or? Carolina Panthers. We got an Australian team called the Panthers, and that's the only thing I can ever think of when I look at this. Jacksonville Jaguars. Yep, this is an example that you can tell purely on the logo how good and or bad the team is. They look like they can't even afford a good logo. New Orleans Saints. Do you reckon all the French supporters of the NFL probably only go for this team? Because I can totally imagine that. The Tennessee Titans.
What would make this logo awesome is if we made it a freaking fireball.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You thought the Jaguars were bad. Woo! Buffalo Bills. In Australia, we have an ice cream called Buffalo Bill. It tastes super sweet, super awesome, and gave you bubblegum. And that's the only thing I can think of when I see this. Dallas Cowboys. And yes, you're from Dallas, which makes sense that you'd be called Cowboys, but what's with the star? Also, do you think this team is American? Miami Dolphins. Probably the most flamboyant of the logos I've seen. Kinda looks like a hotel resort at SeaWorld. New York Giants. We are a New York team. And why? We are New York. Am I the only one who thinks that New York in general just doesn't want to associate themselves with the rest of their country? New England Patriots. Do you think they're American? Philadelphia Egos. Philadelphia Eagles. Not hating it. Honestly, I think this is one of the teams I'm going to be supporting. So, New York Jets. Once again, going for the fact that they really want to emphasize they're from New York. Washington Redskins. Because America wants to remind the rest of the world that even some of their people are racist too. Like, holy crap. The Denver Broncos. We have an Australian team called the Broncos, and a friend of mine, the only reason why they're following them is for that exact logic. Arizona Cardinals. I don't think I'm going to follow Arizona Cardinals, but I will say they have undeniably the best logo. I mean, look how super slick that thing is. It says, I have probably won some Super Bowls in the past. Also, how do you make a cardinal look epic? Someone give that guy a raise. Kansas City Chiefs, see? Washington, this is how you do an Indian reference without seeming racist. At the same time, they kind of look like they're one letter away from being a fast food joint. San Fran 49ers. Well, they've taken a note out of New York's book and really want to emphasize, we're from this city! Also, what's a 49er? Oakland Raiders. Number 3 in the worst logos of our time. This logo is destined for greatness. Seattle Seahawks. This is the team Josh goes for. Not gonna lie, they seem pretty epic. San Diego Chargers. This kind of looks like the Thunder Lightning came down and then broke themselves onto a wheel and were like, well, I'm just gonna lie here for a little while. Finally, the St. Louis Rams. It's okay. Ultimately, it was pretty hit and miss about their logos. I'm gonna have to put a bit more thought into this. Maybe I can look at their uniforms. Don't forget to leave a like, favorite, subscribe, share, favorite, oh I said favorite twice, comment, all that jazz. And I still don't know how to end these videos. Work that, Platte, Minnesota.